In a small New Jersey town known for glass, grit, and a great breakfast, one man spent his life answering the call. He joined the rescue squad at 16, and he's still keeping the past alive today. This is part one of a Millville story, one that begins at Queen Diner and leads us into the heart of our first hometown helper. Welcome to Back Roads and Front Porches, where the stories of small-town America come to life. From hometown helpers to those keeping traditions alive, we're exploring the people, places, and moments that make these towns feel like home. So grab a seat on the front porch and a glass of lemonade and join us as we discover America's stories. Millville, New Jersey, a town where nearly every street has a story. It's where families built lives around hard work, Friday night lights, and factory shifts that ran deep into the night. As we rode into town, it didn't take long to feel the pride and the history around every corner. We started our walk downtown, past the old Millville National Bank, a building that stood through decades of change. Just ahead, City Hall keeps watch over a quiet tribute, a monument to those who serve, and a mural that honors the Millville Army Airfield. That airfield trained over 1,000 pilots during World War II, many of them flying P-47 Thunderbolts. The town's still proud of that legacy, and it shows. Here, history isn't just remembered, it's painted right on the walls. A few blocks away, Barbose Stadium at Wheaton Field still echoes with hometown glory. Coach John Barbose led Millville to 31 straight wins, and my dad played on that undefeated team. And at the old Wheaton Glass site, now just piles of brick and memory, my grandfather and uncle spent their working lives. In this town, almost everyone has a story that starts at Wheaton Glass. And before diving into the heart of this week's Hometown Helper story, we did what most locals do when they start their day in Millville. We headed to Queen Diner. Let's get this day started with breakfast at the Queen.
I'm all about breakfast.
So am I. Menus in hand, we placed our order while the waitress kept things moving with that easy, small-town rhythm. A few minutes later, our plates hit the table, and we were ready to dig in.
I got the hungry woman breakfast. Wanna know why? I'm a hungry woman. What you got there?
I've got the hungry man breakfast. Wanna know why?
Why?
Because I'm a hungry man. If I'd seen this first, I might have skipped breakfast altogether and gone straight for dessert. You know, one of my favorite things about traveling is meeting people and the stories that they share with us.
I agree. The person that we're meeting today was nominated by one of our followers. Her name is Michelle. So thank you for that, Michelle.
And we are going to meet a gentleman that has been volunteering since he was 16 years old. He started as a volunteer for the rescue squad, and he did it because he wanted to give back to his community, just like what hometown helpers are.
Exactly. And it's really kind of amazing that once he started at the age of 16, he just never stopped.
That's correct. So let's meet Kirk.
This photo was taken in the early winter of 1974. It was the Aid Corps. We were actually members. We'd done the same training as the members, but we weren't allowed to drive until we were 20. From 16 to 20, basically you rode in the back of the ambulance and done all the training as the other members and ran the calls as the other members. In the early 70s, we evolved to more modernization of rescue tactics and techniques. Part of that was our uniform. Prior to 1977, our uniforms basically, as far as headgear, like a construction worker's hat. So what had happened, a group of us got talking, and these are made by Kern's company, and they're the same type of helmet the Philadelphia Fire Department has, or still has till today. So back in January 1977, in a blizzard, I rode up to Mount Laurel, New Jersey, Nate Alexander's fire supply, and got these helmets for the rescue squad. So I like to say I was the first one to have this type of helmet on the Millville Rescue Squad. I love my little town of Millville, I'm very proud of it, and I wanted to pay back to the community. And the only way I knew how to do that was some civic type of duty. You had to be, I think, 18 or 21 to join the fire company. I'm scared of heights. I'm really not a real big ladder guy. So the A Corps was there. It was relatively new. I knew a couple guys that belonged there. I joined that. So my first call on Thanksgiving Day of November 1973. And I still remember who the person was too, and the location, believe it or not, some 52 years ago, whatever the case may be. I became Aide of the Year, and I got a letter from the mayor, which was Ed Solomon, and I also got a letter from the State Senator Hurley. And then in 1981, I was nominated by the membership for life member, the youngest life member of the Millville Rescue Squad. July 1975. But the state police still had a heavy rescue school they operated. And we learned high-angle rescue techniques, all by ropes and stuff like that. And again, I've got to reiterate this, being scared of height. They had like a gangplank around it, which was about maybe 3 foot wide, no railings, nothing to latch onto, so it was on your own. You drop. But we all went through that, and we graduated with that. Got elected to office. I was the 8th president for a year. I was the vice president of the membership back in 81, I think it was. Wound up being the director of the board of directors. Then I kind of like faded away in 1993. I totally got out of it. But what happened with the rescue squad, it was actually formed in 1958 by a gentleman named Harry Risley. He was a former commander of the American Legion in Millville. Back in them days, prior to the rescue squad, Millville Hospital had an ambulance, but it was ran by an orderly. So if the orderly wasn't available, police would contact the taxi company. A taxi driver, wherever he may be in the city, would go to the hospital, get the ambulance, drive it to whoever needed the ambulance. So what happened, getting back to Harry Risley, he lived out on the corner of Circle Drive and Route 49. His neighbor behind him had a heart attack, and it took a long time for the ambulance to get there. So he realized something had to be done for ambulance service in Millville. So he got together with a group of Legionnaires from Millville. They bought that ambulance for like $1 off the hospital, and they parked it in front of his house. So the members, their headquarters was at Harry Risley's house. And as time went on, they got the money, and they built a building right behind the Legion home on Buck Street. So it was called the American Legion Rescue Squad. And during that time, the medical service wasn't that good. It was like basically put them on the stretcher. If they're bleeding, put a bandage on them, get to the hospital. As time evolved, we got more techniques, better training and stuff like that. It expanded even more. The ambulances were getting bigger, but we couldn't really add on height to the building. So right next door was the old Maury auto dealership building that was vacant there for the longest time. Michael Ascarides got a hold of the Maury family and worked out a deal. They bought the building. So that was in 73. That was in March of 73. During that summer, the membership themselves, not added on, but refurbished the whole building and made it modern. That happened, and right around 1988, or early 80s, the membership started to decline. People weren't volunteering.
The rescue squad was all volunteer.
All volunteer.
And so when you were there, you were a volunteer.
Volunteer, yes.
Okay.
I was giving back to my community.
What is it in your background that made you want to give back?
Well, I had an interest in medicine. I actually taught CPR, advanced first aid, water rescue, and then we went to EMT, which was provided by the state, emergency medical technician. And we went to that training, so we all became EMTs. And so people were happy. It was a free service. People were happy with their service. And you know, you'd be sitting there one day, family walked in, oh, you picked up my Aunt Elizabeth last night, here's your check. During July, we would have our fund drive. People back then appreciate us.
If you had to say, what was the most rewarding experience you ever had with the rescue squad?
Saved a baby.
Okay.
I gave a baby CPR. Yeah, probably around 1976, 75.
Okay.
It takes a toll on you, the things you see. But if you've seen, or people don't realize what police see, fire department see, ambulance crew sees, it affects you years later. And it's 2025. And just talking about it brings back a flood.
I'm sure.
You know, it's just some of the horrendous things.
Any idea over the years how many calls you ran?
Oh my goodness. Nah.
Not even.
Nah. Probably a couple thousand, I would say, conservatively. That's a lot.
That's a lot of calls.
Yeah. Plus worked a full-time job, plus had a family too, back in them days. And that's one thing people don't realize. We not only spent a lot of hours at the rescue squad, we had a life outside the rescue squad. You know, we're committed to doing a night duty once a week. Once a month we do a Sunday duty, which was split up in blocks of 4. And plus the holidays, we had split up in blocks of 4 hours for the holidays. So it was a lot of time, plus the training. And as time went on, I think one of the factors of the decline of the volunteer was the requirements the state puts on the volunteers for their training. You gotta have this, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. And that's a lot of time.
Sure.
So now everything's paid now. You still have little volunteer fire companies throughout the country, but a lot of time and dedication.
You know, we started Backroads and Front Porches to highlight hometown helpers around the country as we travel. With Kurt, I don't think we could have found a better one to start with. If you liked part 1 of his story, or you thought that was pretty incredible, just wait till next week for part 2. When we started talking to him and we heard the life that he has lived giving back, it's been pretty amazing. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, because we want to highlight people just like Kurt around the country.
Because every community has a hometown helper, and their story deserves to be told.